I want to share something with you, something that is very difficult for me to share, but I feel in order to move in the direction that I feel called to move in, I have to share what's been going on. I have mentioned many times in the last lots of months that I've been going through a really difficult season, and I have shared very few details, and I've really not shared any details outside of my circle. I wasn't sure I would ever make this video. I wasn't sure I would be in this place, and here I am. So first of all, I'm really nervous to share this because I want to be honoring, and I'm going to be very open with you guys in order to be open moving forward, in order to show things, especially in the garden, that God keeps showing me, and I can't share them with you unless I share this thing. So bear with me. I am going to do my absolute best to make it through with no tears, and I am going to share it in a way that brings encouragement, I hope, to you, as well as if you are in a similar situation or something very difficult, perhaps what I share will help you as well. So without further ado, let's just jump in. Last summer, I shared with you a video about turning the hardest day of my life, which is my birthday, into the best day of my life. And I shared some things with you that were very difficult to share about my relationship with my then husband. And you heard that correct. I have not worn a wedding ring for a very long time, so perhaps nobody's even noticed, and that's great. It started last spring when my wedding ring actually broke, and really that was just a visible sign of what was already going on. I'm not gonna share details with you guys on what has gone on. If you are interested in a tiny snippet, you can go back. I'll post it at the end of this video and watch the video that I posted about the really hard day. It is so hard to pick up a camera and say these words, but I know it is so important. I have been walking through the process of not being married anymore. I can't even really say the word, and I don't want to cry, so I'm not going to. I'm gonna just tell you, it has been so difficult. I did not plan on it coming to this. If you go back and watch that other video that I made, then you will see that. But I want to tell you something, a story of a journey that I've been on since last fall. I took you guys out into the mountains with me, and last fall I decided, instead of shutting the channel down, that I would just take you guys into the mountains and show you my favorite places, the places that bring me peace and joy, and a place where I could take my children and they could just go and run and be free, and I would have no cell reception and we could just go. And it got me through for a little while longer. But basically I woke up one day and I couldn't get out of bed, and I realized I can't go another step forward. I can't keep going. Going through this, I have been facing probably the biggest fear that I have in life. I never set out to do life alone. That was not my plan. I grew up in a pretty rough home and a pretty rough childhood, and I left that life with the plan to be a good wife and a stay-at-home mom, and homesteading fits so nicely within that, and just being a homemaker. It's the life that I love doing. It's the life I love living. However, it has also held a very big element of pain for me, and I honestly, I don't regret waiting so long, because there were processes I needed to walk through, and I can stand here and make this video today, and I can lead you in what I have used as my healing process, and I can share this with you because I have taken my time over this decision. And by taking my time, I mean this has been a 9 to 10 year journey, and I mean that very intensely over the last 5 years for sure, but 9 to 10 years to fight. I fought with everything within me. In the end, God asked me a question. He asked me, do you trust me? And it's really easy to say yes. And he had been asking me that very question for at least 2 years. Do you trust me? And I would say yes, but I wouldn't do the thing I knew I needed to do. And I waited in the doorway of this decision, hoping that somebody would bring me an answer, that somebody would tell me what to do. I wanted someone to tell me what to do. And all the while, I knew in my spirit what I needed to do, and I was too afraid. And this time, in the fall, God asked me, do you trust me? And I said yes. And he said, it's time to jump. And that jump has looked like the last 9 months of my life. It has taken quite a while, and it has taken me so much to just get to that point, to actually jump out of the airplane and know that he has me, and know that he has my children, and know that everything's going to be okay. I want you to know that this has been a struggle on both sides, okay? So please don't take sides. Please don't ask questions of the situation. If you know, you know. I won't be sharing it on my social media in order to honor the other person, and in order to make this video so that one day I'll be proud for my children to watch it, and for them to know that God has had us all this time. So join me in that. I want to share the journey to the jump with you, as well as the healing process that I've learned to go through with you. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna share with you how I got to the jump, what I've been doing over the last 9 months, and how I have begun my healing process. And I say begun, it's been a long time. I've been doing this for a while now. But you know, I think the timeline, even though I would like it to be quicker, it's not gonna be, and that's okay. That's okay. For everybody going through this, it will be a different timeline. And it doesn't even matter if you're talking about going through a break in marriage, or if you are going through something else that is extremely difficult. Hopefully this will help you. So let's talk about the jump. How did I get here? How did I make this decision? And how did I know? How did I know it was time? So I went through a very long waiting period where I made a rule for myself. The rule was I would not move until I heard God speak so clearly and he brought confirmation, and I would not make a move until I heard him speak. And I have worked so hard to build a relationship with him. It is an extremely personal relationship. I know him better than I know any other person. I have learned to have a relationship with him that is very open and honest, and honestly, he already knows all of my thoughts anyway. He already knows how I feel anyway. And so just to be vulnerable with him and invite him into every situation in every area of my life. And I knew that this decision process would be very difficult. Part of the reason that this was very difficult is because when I was 17, my parents divorced. And while some would say, you know, divorce is never a good thing, I actually have a different experience. For me, at that time, we needed to be free. my sisters and I, and my mom for that matter, we needed to be free from what was happening in our home. It wasn't safe. And so we experienced freedom. However, growing up in a church, there was so much shame and blame and condemnation. We weren't safe there. And we were told things we should not have been told. And there was so much guilt. I was terrified of ever ending up in that situation myself. Now, for all that I knew, when I married well. I made the best decisions that I could at the time, and I made the decision to not walk in a lot of the things that I grew up learning. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to be a wife. I didn't even know how to communicate. I didn't know how to raise a family. I just decided, well, I know what not to do at least. And so let's start there. I read lots of books. I went to so many classes. I did a ton of things to make sure I built a good, strong foundation. And for really the reason that we lasted as long as we did was because of that strong foundation we started with. And so if you're in the beginning of your journey, I highly recommend building the strongest foundation possible, because you will be able to weather storms. For me, I personally decided to fight as hard as I could with all of me, with everything in me. And I finally drew the line when it was costing me physically. I got to the point where I could no longer eat very well. I wasn't functioning very well. It was so hard to pick up a camera and continue life. I decided that wasn't okay, that was not an okay thing, because I spent 5 years seeking God, asking him questions, and making one slow move at a time. And sometimes it would take months to get the next step, which drove me crazy, but it was such a good thing. I would not look back over that time with regret. I know I walked each step to the best of my ability, and I was able to get to this point. So the waiting period was on my end, so that I made sure I wasn't rushing into anything, and that one day I would be able to teach my children how to do that too. Now, I'll tell you, this process, it was so hard. So I don't say this lightly. You're seeing the other end of this. You're not seeing the middle of this. Most of this journey was not while I had a YouTube channel or anything like that. It's been a really long process. The other side of that was giving space. I wanted to give my husband at the time space to be able to make the decisions that he needed to make. Time. Big changes take baby steps over a long period of time. And I knew that where he had gotten in his life, it was going to take time to heal. And so I gave as much as I could. Going through this process and getting to the jumping point, I felt like God was saying one thing, the church was saying another thing, different people within the church were saying something completely different. Friends and family, they had their own take on things, and really what it produced for me was just a lot of confusion. I wasn't sure, where is solid ground? Where can I stand? I don't want to move outside of God's path for me. Where is that path? I could not find it. I felt like I was feeling in the dark most of the time, really in the dark for the last couple of years. The last 9 months for me have been much more clear, but coming to the decision really was very difficult. I hear people say all the time, follow your peace. I say, follow God's peace. Don't follow your own peace, because you have a very limited perspective, but God sees the entire picture and what will work out best for everyone. So another reason that I was having such deep confusion is because I am a highly sensitive person, or some people call it an empath. I can feel people's pain as if it was my own pain. And, so if my children get hurt or scratched, a lot of the time, especially if I really am in tune with them, I can feel their physical pain on my own, in my own skin. And that's really difficult, living, like growing up the way that I did and being highly trained and skilled in the area of knowing how people function and being able to see how they're affected by things. Let's just say I never learned boundaries. I never learned that they were okay. Not ever, not my entire life, to the point where it so negatively impacted me. I had to come to terms with it. And this fall, that's what happened. I came to terms with the fact that in order to live a healthy life, you have to have healthy boundaries. When I was about 12, the thing going around was never pray for patience, because you'll get them, and what you'll get is opportunities to practice patience. The funny thing to me now is that patience that's a cakewalk compared to boundaries for me. Boundaries to me feel like I'm doing something wrong, like I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, because they're so uncomfortable, and if you've never practiced them in your whole life, they feel wrong. So I started implementing boundaries and realizing that there were a lot of things that needed to change in our life, and that there were some things that I wasn't okay with living in anymore. And I slowly started making those changes, and essentially what ended up happening was we got to the narrowing chute, and there was only one decision left in the end, and that was to separate. And so we did separate. We were separated for many months before the final thing went through, and that was hard enough. We had actually gone through that once before for a long extended period of time. So bringing boundaries into my life helped to bring clarity for me. It helped me come to a decision, and it helped me to be allowed to do things that were taking care of my own self for the first time in my life. Yep, I know. I say it now, and it sounds so crazy, but it's very true. So once I had come to terms with the fact that I physically couldn't move forward, I started implementing boundaries. I had last summer went through some really in-depth biblical studies so that I could stand on solid ground if I ended up needing to come to a decision of permanent separation. That was a really hard process for me. And what I learned is that he doesn't judge or condemn. And he really doesn't. He doesn't bring shame. And if it's coming from those places, it's not God. He doesn't do that to us. Even in the moment, he doesn't do that to us. Even if we make the wrong decision, he doesn't do that to us. But I, for my own sake, needed to be able to stand on solid biblical ground on the decision I was making, and be okay with it, and be more than okay with it. And so all of these things kind of culminated, and they brought me to the fall where we separated. And then I took some time off of YouTube, because this is huge. It's been huge in my kids' life, and my decision to stand in fear for so long cost me in the way that it's harder on my children because they're older now. And that's really living in fear. That would be my only regret, really. And so I just don't want to move forward that way anymore. I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to shut down my YouTube channel out of fear. So I had two choices. I could take this channel one of two directions. One would be to be vulnerable and get real honest with you guys and share what's going on, so that I can share the deeper things in the garden and the deeper messages that God shares with me, or take it in a complete opposite route and just strictly keep it a garden channel. But here's the deal. I know there is so much pain that all of us walk through, and I would rather share my pain in hopes that it helps even one person then to number one, shut my channel down, and number two, take it in a completely different direction of just educational. So that's why I am sharing this today with you guys. So I went ahead, I took the leap. I have never walked through something that difficult in my life. This just is finished. I highly, highly, highly recommend that if you are in a difficult situation, do not go at it alone. Make sure that you have your people. Do not go and broadcast what you're going through to a whole bunch of different people, especially while you're going through it, because too many voices will clutter up your mind and your decision-making process. Sometimes there are decisions that you have to walk through that nobody else can. Nobody else can see all the pieces except for you and God. And so there are times when wise counsel is absolutely necessary. I have my very specific people. They pray for me. They pray for my children. They pray for my now ex-husband. And everyone is covered because everybody should be covered. And I can't hold everybody up all the time, which is something that I am brand new in learning. I sort of have operated out of that place for, since basically my children were born. I had to take a step back from how intensely I took care of other people because I had children. But still, I'm typically the one who's okay. I'm typically the one who holds it all together. And I'll tell you what, these last especially 9 months, I have not held it all together. And I have needed my support group. And I am so thankful for them. I can't even tell you, I don't even know how I would have done this without them. So first and foremost, God's at the top. I run everything by him. I ask him questions and I don't move until I hear from him. Then I have my couple of people who I call when I really need to. They are so connected and in tune with me that they check on me and they make sure I'm okay. And I have needed that. I have needed people to step in and say, I see your need and I'm going to take care of it. You're not going to tell me no. I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to wash your dishes. I'm going to bring you firewood. I'm going to whatever it has been. It's been so many things. I can't even list them all. Although I have kept somewhat of a thankfulness journal. I focus really hard on that. But I decided that when you're in the really dark seasons, keeping a thankfulness journal is so good. So don't be alone. Get your friends. Honestly, I've even had strangers who I don't even know. I don't know their names. They were part of the firewood team. They came here. They brought their kids here. A lot of them didn't even know what the situation was. They just made sure we were okay. And we had firewood. And I was so blown away by that. Because to be honest, I have extremely high expectations of myself. That's something that I would do. I have given and given and given, but I never learned until this season to actually receive. And if you're sitting here with your hands like this, you can't give or receive. So then I was constantly giving out of what I had instead of letting God pour into me and pour out. What ended up happening, I got depleted because my resources are limited, but his are not limited. So make sure you have a really amazing support system. Stay in thankfulness. That has been so helpful to me. Sometimes I have to walk through the garden in my most beautiful place. Walk through the garden and say out loud, I am thankful for sunshine. I am thankful for rain. I am thankful for firewood or food or simple things. I am thankful for my garden. Because when you focus on the positive things, that's what you're gonna see. If you choose to focus on the negative things, you'll see the negative things. And for me personally, I would much rather focus on the positive things. Now, I did all of that. I've practiced all of that for a lot of years. So for me, it's a lot easier now and I can get through really hard circumstances with that because I've built up that pattern. So if you have not built up that pattern, I highly encourage you to start right now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Start it right now. And if you have to, start a thankfulness journal. Just, for me right now, I physically write down 5 things I'm thankful for each Sunday or, Monday, whatever day I happen to be going through that. But I purpose to try to do it within about the same day of the week, and I write it down, because if I can't bring myself to a place of thankfulness, I go back to my journal, I look at my notes, and I repeat what I've written over the months or the weeks or whatever it's been. And it has power. If you continue to visit the positive, you will give it more power in your life and more power to move. So, that's been really, really helpful to me. I do want to share 2 more parts with you guys. One is sort of my grieving process and a little bit what that's looked like for me, as well as my healing process, because I want to leave this video and leave you guys with hope that, we're okay, and you will be too. You really, really will be. No matter your circumstance, God has already worked it out for your good. I don't know what that looks like for you. I don't know what that looks like for me sometimes. Actually, most of the time at this point, I don't know what that's going to end up looking like, but I know that He will. You're going to see the transformation probably in me, but you're definitely going to see a transformation in my garden, and that I cannot wait to share. So grieving has been a really long process. One, I can tell you, I have really wanted to rush and get through and be on the other side. That's not the way that it's working at all. It is a grieving process. After all, this is a very difficult situation. I've spent a lot of time, like I said, I had taken some time away from the channel, really to decide if we were going to continue on that path. We really wanted to decide, is homesteading still a viable option for us? Is living out here still a good choice for us? Is homeschooling still what works the best for our family? And so we took a couple of months really to decide that, and to just kind of take time off to be together and kind of make it through. That was sort of during the holiday season, and really just get through those first times where it was just the kids and I. There's been a lot of days where I've been okay, and there's been a lot of days where I have been really not okay. And really the same goes for the kids. They are working through this process, and I'm not going to share a whole lot about them, about any more of that, other than I've been just trying to be with them and just trying to give them space to feel how they feel. There's been a lot of really big feelings. It's really, really hard. Want to make sure that above all else, I remember that God is my provider. My business is not. This YouTube channel is not. They may help, but they're not the end all be all. And no matter what, I am called to be a good mom, and that is what I will do. So my children are number one, first and foremost. Another thing for my grieving process has been to really get to know myself. I think I have always known who I am in my spirit, but I have not always really walked in that fully, or known I was allowed to explore that. So I've done a tremendous amount of research on my own personality type. Wouldn't you know that I have, shockingly, one of the most rare personality types. If you do the Myers-Briggs thing, I just think it's really fascinating. I am an INFJ. If you don't know what that means, it's totally fine. Just leave it. Don't worry about it. I am really fascinated by the way that God has made each of us work, and how we all function, and how we fit together. That's the biggest thing here for me, is implementing the right people in the right places and being able to build a teaching farm off of that. And I may have started this farm and this gigantic garden of mine by myself, and the reason that I did that was to show how much one person, pregnant, wearing a baby, nursing a baby, having children around me, how much can one person really do? Because if I could show that, then how much more could we all do together as a team? And now, after all these years, I've lived on this farm now we're going into the 8th year, and my vision that I've had in my mind and in my spirit and on my papers, it's coming to life. And other people are starting to see that, and they're coming to the farm. We recently brought on an intern, and she is incredible. And I absolutely, I love this. I love how many people are coming through the farm every day to pick up something or learn something or tour through the gardens or just whatever is open for that. And I would not change that. So I have decided to kind of look into my own self and figure out how do I operate and be able to learn that there are certain things that I need, like quiet time to process. And I'm about ready to do a big video on getting more done while resting, because you guys, I have never spent this much time resting in my entire life, but I've been way more productive, and I'm so excited to share that with you. So definitely stay tuned for that video. It'll be coming out in a few weeks. But really just kind of learning more about myself and taking the time to actually heal and process emotions and allow myself to leak from my eyes. I have not really been known as a very emotional person, so it's been very difficult for me to allow those feelings to come. But I know that I cannot move forward in my life until I allow those feelings to come out. I don't want to harbor them in my heart, and most assuredly, I don't want to come up with any new things. And so it's sort of, we're moving through the days, and when things come up, then we're trying to just deal with them, whether it's me or with the kids. And the other thing that I am doing and have been implementing, especially over the last 3 months, has been doing things that fill me up and don't take out of me. So if you're always doing things that pull out of you and pull out of you and pull out of you, you're going to be really exhausted. And honestly, that's where I've lived for years, is just really exhausted. And I haven't had the energy to put into my farm or my kids or just anywhere. I was putting it all in really into my marriage, which is not a bad thing, don't take me wrong, but I wasn't putting into my own self, and that's not okay. So I've learned, I've even made a list. I'm a list maker, you guys. I love lists. Doing things that put into me and fill me up, like gardening. I could work all day long in my garden, and I might be physically tired, but I am so charged up and energized, doing things like that. I've been painting, I've been doing so many different things that I have just laid down for a long time, and that has really helped me get through the grieving process and just kind of give me space and time to be able to heal. I'm gonna mix grieving and healing all into one part here. So for the first time in my life, I actually am learning to take care of myself, and I'm learning that it's okay to. I have started recognizing that I really am pretty good at creating different routines. And if I'm not very good at schedules, but if I have a routine, so basically it just leaves the time out of it so it can be very flexible, I am more likely to stick to it. So my healing routine for me, I would like to share it with you guys. And I'm gonna leave it down, the full healing routine. I'm gonna leave it down in the comments for you guys. If you sign up for the email list, then you'll get access to that totally for free. I wanna share a few snippets with you here on this channel, but then if you guys are interested in the full healing routine and what I've been doing, now I'm not telling you this is going to bring you 100% success. All I'm doing is sharing with you what I have done and what has worked really well for me. And it's worked well enough that I'm able to actually sit here and film this video for you guys. So go down in the description box, find the link, sign up for the email list, and then you will get free access to the healing routine. So a few of the things that I have done to bring healing, I have already shared a little bit with you guys. I have been painting again. I had not painted in like 7 years. I have been taking time to enjoy my garden, to actually sit in the garden and to just take it all in and bring my children out one-on-one. That's something that I'm learning is very important for me. Sort of taking time to rebuild and reconnect. And another thing that I have really found helpful is daily exercise. Now, I have done this for many years. However, I have never found a routine that has worked as well as the one that I've been doing. And again, if you guys are interested in that, I will leave it in the description box. I feel like I have been coming into a new place in life, the best version of myself that I can be. And that is what I'm trying to do. That is my new goal. It's time for a new chapter to begin. And I am so excited that God works all things for our good. If you are in a similar situation or are dealing with something that is very hard, then I bless you in it. I ask that God would bring you peace and bring you clarity, and that He would show you the path. Thank you again for joining me today and joining me on this journey. Stay tuned. There is so much more coming, you guys. There are so many things that I want to share with you. I had to get through this first. So thank you for taking time. Thank you for still being a part of this community. I know it's been rough, and I know that I told you for so long, I'm going to tell you, it's coming, and here it is. This is what's been going on. I hope that you continue to stay with me on this journey. Please keep my family in your prayers, and if you found this video helpful at all, or you would like to leave a comment down below, I would love to hear from you. I'll see you again very soon. Don't forget, learn and grow.